Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Weighing Room, where the three of us are back previewing Saturday's racing on ITV with 5 races from air over the jumps, with the Scottish Grand National the feature race of the day. And on the flat, we go over to Newbury, where there will be 3 lots of group action, but 4 races to get stuck into, with the Greenham Stakes, the big one of the afternoon. Frankie, we've had the Irish National, the Aintree Grand National, now we've got the Scottish Grand National. Another good weekend of racing, isn't it?
Yeah, three nationals on the trot. I quite like the way it's worked this year. I think it would be good if it's like that every year in the calendar. And yeah, competitive as ever. They're always great races to get stuck in and have a bet. And brilliant watching as well. And it's good competitive racing. We're still mixing flat and jumps, aren't we? Because Punchestown obviously got this on Saturday and then Punchestown Festival next week. And then I think after that I finally settle into the flat. But yeah, good week's racing all around.
Yeah, it's a tricky part of the season where the flat's coming in, the jumps is ending, and obviously we've seen at Cheltenham this week. There's been some right results with like 33 to 1, 28 to 1's coming out of nowhere. So it is
Yeah.
difficult from a punting perspective. But Paul, the Aintree Grand National meeting was superb. The actual Grand National itself obviously it was a big talking point, wasn't it, over the last week or so with what's gone on. But Corrick Rambler's performance was superb, wasn't it? He obviously showed how much he had in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And he took to the fences. I wasn't 100% convinced that he would. I thought he either would or wouldn't, if you get me. I didn't think there would be any middle ground. I thought he would either love it or hate it. He absolutely loved it. He had a ball. And I don't think he probably took it up a little bit early, but I don't think there was anything Derek Fox could have done. I know the second connections maybe thought if they had to ride the horse a little bit closer, but I know he was a bit sticky over the first one or two. And I think Corrick Rambler was just doing enough. I think if Vanillier would have had to nail him, absolutely nail him on the line. I think if had Vanillier challenged Corrick Rambler halfway up the run in, I think Corrick Rambler just would have went on again. I think if they were still running now, I still think that would be the case. But yeah, he's an exciting horse, and you'd imagine connections will plan from the national 2024 backwards and plan their season. I'd imagine we mightn't just see too much of him next season, with all roads leading to Aintree once again.
No, I agree. What he raced off 146, and he's I think BHA handicap was giving 159 now. It showed how much he's got in hand, didn't it?
Yeah, and again, James, just to mention, I know we're past it now, and we're going to have to wait another season, but it just goes to show jockeys with form around Aintree. The guys who finished first and second in the Fox Hunter, I know it was Will's first winner over the fences, but both Will and John Dawson, who was second, both would have pretty good completion records over the fences. They're pretty talented around there, and they both went the same route. Friday, Sam Twiston-Davies again has a pretty good record over the fences, and then on Saturday, Derek Fox obviously won it on Arthur, and I said beforehand, Sean Flanagan, without winning the national, his completion record and what have you on outsiders is pretty good. So that's always something to bear in mind.
Yeah, definitely. And you flagged up a few times, haven't you, about that? Right then, we'll move on to this week's racing, and we're going to start at Ayr with their opener on the Saturday. It's the Scotty Brand handicap chase over 2 miles, and this looks to be competitive, doesn't it, Frankie? You kick us off.
Yeah, tricky one. A couple of these obviously have just gone to entry recently, which I'm trying to skip past. I don't know if we'll find out whether that's the right move or not. I'm looking for one that comes in a little bit fresher and maybe slightly unexposed, albeit the handicap has slapped this horse about nearly a stone for winning last time out, Return Ticket. But Return Ticket did win very, very well last time out. As I said, hasn't gone to a hard race at Aintree. I'm hoping could still be well handicapped. And if putting in a performance like Return Ticket did at Carlisle, then at least I think deserves to be in the frame in this class of race. So yeah, Return Ticket handicapper has hiked him up a bit, but 8 to 1 and really impressive last time out. I'll take a chance each way.
Yeah, Return Ticket 8 to 1, and did win this race last year actually, and it's only one. It's £1 lower. So definitely got a big chance, but it has been raised by the handicapper recently. Paul, for you?
One to keep an eye on, an interesting trainer jockey combination is Henry Oliver and Dennis O'Regan. Dennis doing 10 stone 4 on Coast Guard Station, who was second on his last couple of starts, was a winner 3 starts ago. A tricky affair, but the one I've gone with is Frere Darmus for Dan Skelton. Slight concern was that he didn't hit the line overly strong at Ascot when he finished second last time out behind Black Jerry. Having said that, he was dropped out. he does like to race close to the pace, and that paid dividends when he was a winner on his 2 runs before that. Both occasions he was ridden by brother Harry Skelton. We're not going to see the arms up in the air or what have you go by the line, albeit if Frere Darmas leads them home. Bridget Andrews takes over here, and we haven't seen Bridget in public aboard Frere Darmas since she was well beaten in a 6-runner race at Newbury last year. But yeah, so I suppose life is all about second chances, and we'll side with Frere Darmas and Bridget Andrews here.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm with you here, Frere Darms. What if you look at the start of the season? We did a piece with Harry on the Winners Enclosure channel on TGE Meets, and he actually put up this horse as his handicapper to follow. And he was obviously so well in at the start of the season. If you look at his 2 runs, obviously he's gone up now. He's off a marker 136, and he got beat last time by a horse for Gary Moore, wasn't it? Black Jerry. He was giving £7 away that day. But I just think that wasn't his true showing last time out, and I'm happy to give him another chance, because what he's done so far this season, the way he's jumped, and the horses he's beat as well, like Haddocks Des Obeaux, he's a very good horse. And then Orcan Risk, a very good horse as well, went to win the Betfair Hurdle and what place behind Booter in the Grade 2. So his form's very strong, and I still don't think 136 is beneath him. So I'm with you here. I'm with Frere Darms, that I hope he can get back on form with Bridget Andrews. And look, Harry Skelton's obviously the #1 rider, but I think Bridget Andrews is a very good rider. Obviously, you saw what she did at Cheltenham on Favour in the County Hurdle. That was an absolutely superb ride. So let's hope Frere Darms 5-2 can go in for us there. Next up, we're going to go over to Newbury for their first event of the afternoon, and it is the Group 3 Dubai Duty Free Surprise Stakes over 1 mile 4. And the 2 horses at the top of the market have taken each other before in the St. Leger. Hurricane Lane 5-6 favourite, Mojo Star clipped into 9-2 from 11-2. We've got Isra 15-2, Max Vega 8-1, and 14-1 bar those. Paul, you can start in this one. For me, he looks like a match between the 2 at the top of the market. But who are you going for?
Yeah, it does. And at the prices, I'd be siding with Mojo Star. The pair also met in the Arc. You have to go back to 2021 for that meeting, where the selection Mojo Star, he only managed to beat 4 home. Having said that, he was only beaten a little over 6 lengths by the winner, Ricardo Tasso, on that occasion. Mojo Star was last seen finishing second behind Kyprios in the Gold Cup at Ascot back in October. And when you look at it, like Hurricane Lane, he was a beaten odds-on favourite on his last 2 starts. He's round about the 5-6 mark for this event. Mojo Star, best price at 9-2. And with that, team are in good form at the minute. The owner, trainer, jockey, they've all had winners. So at around 9-2, I'd be happy to get involved with Mojo Star.
Yeah, I'm with you again. We're agreeing again, Paul. I just think I was a huge fan of Hurricane Lane when he was winning all the big races, 2 seasons ago. He didn't quite do it last season, and I think he's got to show this season that the fire still burns for me. And at 5-6 with Mojo Star at 9-2, you look at Mojo Star's form, it's unbelievable. Second in the Derby, second in the St. Leger. I know it was behind Hurricane Lane. Yes, it didn't work out in the Arc, but he's second then again to Kyprios in the Gold Cup. He's a brilliant horse. And I know Richard Haddon spoke this week how much he thinks of this horse. He absolutely loves him. I think he'll probably need further in time, but I think he's a very classy horse that probably will be going for the Gold Cup maybe again this season. But I don't think 1 mile 4, I think 1 mile 4 will suit him as well. I think he's just a very versatile horse. And then at 9-2, I think he's the bet here. He's a course and distance winner. And I'm happy to play Mojo Star. And like you said, they won the Nell Gwyn, didn't they? Ammo Racing. They won the Craven Stakes. Kevin Stott's absolutely flying. Why not take a chance on Mojo Star? So both of us agreeing. But Frankie, who are you going for?
Similar opinion, but different. Similar in the sense that Hurricane Lane could go and win this, but a 5-6 horse that didn't perform, especially the back end of last season, and reappearing today, it's quite hard to take that 5-6. And if you can get an each way bet elsewhere, then I'm looking for it. Mojo Star, I just wonder maybe if this sets him up for another race further down the line, back to 1 mile 4. I don't know if we'll find out. He's obviously a very good horse. Whether that will suit him, whether he'll be beaten by a horse that races at 1 mile 4 more frequently in Max Vega for me. Around 8-1 currently, won this race last year, so similar thinking to the First Air as well. Rafe Beckett yet to really get going this season, but Rafe Beckett and Ross O'Ryan, a great duo, and winner of this race last year, and a winner in his last start as well, beating Hamish, which is not bad form at all. So I'm I'm trying to get the favourite beat like you lads, but with a different horse.
Yeah, no problem in that. Max Vega 8-1. The second event back at Ayr is the Novices Handicap Chase over 3 miles. Some nice horses go to post in this field, Frankie. Who do you like?
Yep, going with top weight as well. City Chief, who's been really impressive last time. It's not ideal to carry 12 stone 3 miles, but as I looked at this race, I was, you look at the top of the weight, City Chief for an Oscar Elite. I'll have City Chief out the pair of them. And then beyond them, these horses, where it all began, Temptation in Milan, Forward Plan, that are miles down, really, in ratings and weights. I just don't think they're good enough. I don't think there's one, you might have found one, but I don't think there's one in here that I'm going to say is well handicapped. So I'm looking from a class perspective, and I think City Chief is the best in the field. The challenge is the 12 stone and 3 miles, but I'm going to give him that chance.
Yep, I'm agreeing with you, Frankie. City Chief 9-4 currently. Nicky Henderson's had a few winners at Cheltenham over this week. I think he had a horse with no name and obviously Caribbean Boy at a big price. So he's in a good bit of form. But for the same opinions you've just said, I looked through this race and I actually thought, you know what, I'm going to try and get this favourite beat. And I went through the field and I couldn't. And what I really like about City Chief is that he skipped the engagements at Cheltenham and Aintree and he's come here instead. He'll be absolutely fresh. Last run, 77 days, he was in the National Chase. I'm not sure what the race he was in at Aintree, but I know they were talking about it having skipped Cheltenham. But to come here fresher, and obviously Oscar Elite went to Cheltenham. I think you're right. The horses in below him are just not as good. Yes, 12 stone over 3 miles is tough, but I think City Chief's quite a nice horse. And off a marker 142, I think he might just have a little bit of give in that. If you look at the runs, yes, his first run behind Gelino Bella was a proper learning experience. He needed to learn to jump fences. But what he's done since then, at Hereford, beating Coconut Splash very easy, and then beating O'Toole in the Grade 2 Towton Novices Chase, that was a very, very good performance. He drops back into handicap company here. I just think he'd be fresher than them all, and I think he's the one to beat. So, yeah, City Chief, I'm with you there. Paul, are you going to make it a hat-trick or are you going elsewhere?
Gone elsewhere. I've gone with the Charles Burns trained Temptation in Milan, who has loads of experience over fences. He's had 10 starts over the larger obstacles. He's won 2. He's been second 3 times and he's finished third once. He was last seen finishing 9 lengths behind Better Times ahead over 3 miles at Navan last month. He just about lasted home at the same venue over 3 miles in handicap company the time before that. Ayr is a relatively easier 3 miles than that of Navan. I think the easier 3 miles, not 100 miles now in a difference, but there's a good stiff uphill finish at Navan. You could be in front jumping the last at Navan and you still mightn't finish in the first 4 or 5. You could be well beaten. So it's quite a stiff uphill finish at Navan. I think that will suit him here at Ayr. He's got £20 to fine on City Chief, but as I said, he has loads of experience. He's generally there or thereabouts. And I think when you consider he's got 10 stone 8 minus the jockey, Philip Burns is £5 claim. I think he has to be there or thereabouts. I think 8-1 is a bit of value here for Temptation in Milan.
Yeah, and you can't rule out a Charles Burns runner, can you? He's such a good trainer.
No, definitely.
He's a tricky trainer as well, and he's just one that will bring it over, and this could hack up off 1-2-2. And like you said, Philip Burns taking off 5 is massive because he's a very good rider as well. 8-1 for you then, Paul. Right then, back over to Newbury, and they offer more group racing with the Group 3 Dubai Duty Free Stakes, also known as, I'll just get it, also known as the Fred Darling, is it? Yeah, Fred Darling Stakes, over 7 furlongs. And we have a Godolphin horse at the top of the market, 9-2, Bridestones, Magical Sunset 5-1, Remarque 11-2, Swing Along 11-2, and then Olivia Meraldo 8-1 and 17-2, 9-1 bar those. Paul, we'll start with you on this one. Who caught your eye in this field?
I've gone with Amor Racing again and Kevin Stott. I've gone with Magical Sunset, who was 4th in the Goffs Million at the Curragh last season. He was only beaten about 3 lengths by the winner. He finished off the season with a comfortable victory in a listed event over course and distance in October. That was on heavy ground, and ground here could be quite tested on Saturday afternoon. Magical Sunset, he's drawn close to a number of fancy runners in the field, and I think he'll take the beating. I think she'll take the beating. It's Magical Sunset for me.
It's either going to be a really good day or a really bad day for us, Paul.
Brutal, yeah.
Because I'm going for Magical Sunset as well.
Deja vu, is it?
Yeah, for all the reasons you've just said. But what really took my eye when looking back through and watching replays was her run last time out at Newbury. Yes, it was heavy ground and it could be what soft on Saturday, but it was the way she pulled away from the field. And I just thought to myself, she's got so much more scope to improve. I don't know much about this Godolphin one. Look, it was nice on debut, but we've seen Magical Sunset more, and I just think there's more scope to improve. And like you say, Ammo Racing are absolutely flying. Richard Hannon's had a few winners. And I just thought 5-1. It was slightly bigger actually yesterday, but 5-1 could be a little bit of value because I think she's a filly going place, and I just think she's worth watching out for with a bit of juice in the ground, like you said. So yeah, I'm with you. Magical Sunset for me as well. For you, Frankie?
I don't know if I'm trying to be clever here. For all the reasons you just said, I was thinking Magical Sunset looks a great bet. She's the one we know the most about. She's won the last twice. She's got great form. But I watched Remarquee's victory at Salisbury. And you know, you just watch a race and you think, that's a good horse. We'll see how good of a judge I am. Beat odds on Breton that day, which, you know, that horse was fancied, and they pulled clear, I think 4.5 lengths, easy enough of third. But visually, I thought that was really impressive. So yeah, I'm taking a bit of a chance, and I might be very, very wrong here. We've only seen the horse once, and this will be the debut this season for her. As I said, Magical Sunset seems to have the form and the one we know most about. But I'm going to go with Remarquee. I just really like the way that success at Salisbury looked visually.
Yeah, 11-2 chance Remarquee, and you're all aboard the Rafe Beckett train, aren't you?
I know, yeah, Rafe Beckett double.
This is where it kicks in. All right, then we'll move back onto air. And one of their big races actually is the Grade 2 Coral Scottish Champion Hurdle over 2 miles. This race in the past has actually seen some nice winners. And this season, again, there is some nice runners. Colonel Mustard in there 11-2. Soaring Glory been back 13-2. Rhubarb 7-1. And 7-1, 8-1 barred those. Frankie, we'll start with you. Who are you going for in the Scottish Champion Hurdle?
Rhubarb. Slightly based off of comments from Harry Cobden, actually, and Nichols over the last couple of races. He was disappointing at Newbury in the Betfair Hurdle. But when he won beating Mullenbeg at Kempton, I think that Cobden won that posily, you could say. I just think this horse has got a bit more than it's shown so far, and might just do that now in a handicap off a 135. They've always kind of talked about this horse as being a little bit as one for the future, as if it's got more talent than maybe it's shown. When it has won, it hasn't won by wide margins or been hyped up in the handicap. Was disappointing in the Betfair Hurdle, like I said, and that's probably a race that you would like to target as a handicap because it's a big pot. But Harry did say that they was a bit keen that day and maybe didn't run his race. So I'm giving him another chance. Went nicely last time out. I just think 135 is a nice mark, in my opinion. I think it's better than that.
Yeah, Rhubarb, 7-1 chance for Paul Nichols and Harry Cobden. Paul, who are you playing in this one?
I've gone with Colonel Mustard for Lorna Fowler and Kieran Buckley. When you look at the horse's form, it's hard to believe that he's only registered 2 victories from 14 starts under rules, and one of them was in a bumper. But when you look through his form, he's kept good company. Like, he's ran against the likes of El Fabiolo, Stateman, John Bon. He ran well. He ran well at Kelso the last time. He had quite a tough race there in the Moor Battle when last seen, but he ran a cracker to finish seconds. And I do hope that Colonel Mustard, I think he's run about 11-2. I hope he can get his deserved success here. Colonel Mustard for me.
Yeah, 11-2 shot, and he has just been so unlucky in some of his races, and he's ran crackers all around the place, and hasn't managed to pick up that many victories, but he could on Saturday. The one I'm playing is Nameen Leon, and I tipped this horse up at Kelso for the Grade 2 Premier, and obviously his hurdle, and he was absolutely superb. And then off the back of that, Kerry Lee said, we're going to skip Cheltenham, skip Aintree, and come here. So this has been the plan, and I just think it's another fresh angle, isn't it? I know more of these in the field haven't gone to Cheltenham, but having a plan off the back of that to go to this is what I like. Is really what I like. So his form speaks for itself. At the start of the season, when he won at Hereford on good to soft ground, he bolted up by 10 lengths. He then bumped into Hullenbach for Fergal O'Brien, who's since won again. That was at Haydock. He went into the Grade 1 Tolworth and ran a cracker. I think he finished third that day behind Tarmarus, who obviously the ground played to his strengths that day for Tarmarus. But what he did in the Premier Novices Hurdle was an absolutely superb performance. But travelled lovely on the outside and just jumped the last and went on to win. at 8-1, I think he's a massive price. And at off 135, Namin Leon for me, I think it's got a really, really good chance. Right then, the feature event of the afternoon from Newbury on Saturday is the Group 3 Greenham Stakes, where we see some superstars try and put their challenge forward for the 2,000 guineas. And this year, at the top of the market, 8-11, Chaldine, who's going to take all the beating up and having won the Dewhurst. Knight at 13-2, has won twice with Simon Ed Christopher's, nice horse. Theory of Everything, very impressive on debut, 12-1 in soft ground. Isaac Shelby 14-1 and 18-1 bar those. Frankie, we'll start with you on this one. Chaldine 8-11. He's short, but he's a very, very good horse.
Yeah, not trying to be clever here. I think Chaldine goes and wins. There's plenty of people that think this horse wins the Guineas. And I wouldn't say they're far wrong there either. So yeah, I'm not trying to be smart and get the favourite beat. I don't think 8-11 is the worst price, really. He'll have to be fit and run a race here, ahead of the Guineas. So off everything we know, like you said, won the Dewhurst, this will be 5 on the trot. A real strong contender for the Guineas and should go and win this on the way.
Yeah, keeping it simple, Chaldine. Paul, for you?
Yeah, same as Frankie. I'm with Chaldine, who's been brought through the grades nicely. Won a Novice Stakes on a second start, then went and won the Group 3 Acomb Stakes, won a Group 2, and finished off the season with victory in the Dewhurst. I think the only thing that might beat the favourite is fitness. The Balding team, we mentioned a couple of Hannon selections earlier on in the podcast. Richard Hannon likes to have his horses fairly straight. Andrew Balding would leave a little bit to work with. Having said that, the favourite should be good enough to win here, but I do think his biggest danger is fitness. And if he does lack a bit of match practice, I think Knight looked pretty impressive on his 2 starts. He's around about the 13-2 mark. From a betting angle in the race, I'd probably back Knight, but I do think Chaldine will win. And I think maybe if you were looking at the favourite for the Guineas, I think he's around about the 5-1 mark. So if you fancy Chaldine here and you think he can go on and win the Guineas, from a betting perspective, you mightn't be a bad shout in having a couple of quid on Chaldine for the Guineas ahead of this event.
Yeah, definitely. If he wants to win the Guineas, he has to win this, and I think he has to win this quite impressively. What he's shown throughout his career, I have been a doubter actually of Chaldine just because some of the races he's been plunged into, but he's proved it on soft, he's proved it on good, he's proved it in Group 1 company. The horses he beat, Royal Scotsman, Nostrum, Aesop's Fables, these are seriously good horses, and to go on and beat them was superb, wasn't it? So yeah, he's the horse to beat. I agree with you, Paul. I think Knight's probably the one to follow him home. I think he's been very impressive in his 2 starts, but you've just got to keep it simple. It is short. I just think Chaldine wins, and I think the way to probably play it is if you really fancy him for this, going back in for the Guineas, because he'll be half the price, maybe 3-1 if he wins impressively. So yeah, Chaldine, we're all agreeing. Hopefully goes and wins this race. Right, then back over to the jumps with Ayr on Saturday, and it's the Grade 2 Jordan Electric Future Champion Novices Chase, over 2 mile, 4 furlongs. Frankie, who takes your eye on this one?
Got to stick with That's All Right Gino, haven't we? I think we've all been fans of him on the pod in over a number of his races anyway. Second behind Stage Star, second behind Solo, pulled up at the festival, and I think maybe even one of you two might have put him up for the festival. Every horse is allowed an excuse for their last run. They don't always run to form, and I'm going to stick with him here. I think off of what he showed in his previous 2 starts before being pulled up is good enough to win a race like this. So That's All Right Gino for me. And having pulled up, you can argue maybe slightly easier race than Valco Coastal.
He was absolutely backed off the boards at Cheltenham, wasn't he? Absolutely backed off the boards. I think Paul.
Well, our favourite, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was the form line, wasn't it? A horse won before that he'd finished second behind. Yeah, That's All Right Gino. He's been a fan favourite on the pod, hasn't he? Paul, are you going with That's All Right Gino as well?
Yeah, I think I napped him when he was second behind Solo at Kempton in February. As Frankie mentioned, he didn't get going at all at Cheltenham, and hopefully that would have just, he wouldn't have had a hard time of things at Cheltenham, and hopefully that will pay dividends here.
Yeah, That's All Right Gino, 92. Look, I'd love to agree and make it the hat trick, but I'm going with Valco Coastal. Sorry, lads. I'm going with Valco Coastal. Another one in here that I love, Thunder Rock, I've left alone as well. So this has been a really tough race for me. to have a look through. But Balco Coastal, it's just the one bit of form. Look, he ran absolutely no race last time out. Balco Coastal in I think it was the Turners, wasn't it?
That form with Jerry Colombia.
But yeah, it's
Not bad, is it?
you know how much I love Jerry Colomb, but that I absolutely adore, and he broke my heart at Cheltenham. But I had to have a bit of money on him at Aintree, and we got some of that back. So I know it's a shorter price, but I think the Jerry Colomb form. I really do think that Jerry Colomb is the horse to take Galopin Des Champs close next year in the Gold Cup. Not saying he's going to beat Galopin Des Champs, but I think that's the horse that's going to rival him. And the form line with Balco Coast and Jerry Colomb. I know Jerry Colomb was running over a lesser trip than what he wants, because he's definitely a 3 mile horse, but that run in the Grade 1 Silly Isles Chase, I just think it's absolutely superb form. So if he can get back to that, Balco Coastal, he's a bit of a short price at 2 to 1, but I just don't think he gave his true running last time out. And I do think Nicky Henderson thinks a lot of this horse. So back in Karma Company, I think Balco Coastal is the better, and I fancy him. So I hope he can go and win. But look, I wouldn't mind if that's all right, Gino wins, because for you two, and he's been a great horse. Always runs his race, but just needs to get his head in front. The final event from Newbury on the level is the Spring Cup over a mile. And Paul, this is a tricky handicap to go through, isn't it?
Yeah, this is very tricky. Like the favourite Latam, good winner when last seen, drawn in 12. I think right away, his best price 11 to 4 and it's 17 to 2 bar. One I've gone with, tentative selection, is drawn next door to the favourite. I've gone with Atrium, who needs to bounce back from a disappointing run in the Lincoln earlier this month. He finished off last season with 2 good wins, one of which was at Doncaster over course and distance. He won on a second start last season, having been beaten on season reappearance. So hopefully that run in the Lincoln would have just blown the cobwebs off and he'll be fairly straight here. So Atrium for me, for trainer Charlie Fellows and jockey Kieran Schumer.
Yep, I'm joining you. Atrium, I'm very forgiving. I'm going to give him another chance. I know Frankie put this up actually for the Lincoln, and look, he just didn't run any race, did he? But if you watch the race back with 2 furlongs to go, he's basically pulled up. Like the jockey came back in a canter, so he wasn't given a hard race at all. What he did at the back end of last season, showing how progressive he was, winning off marks in 92 and 96, I thought were really, really good runs. One of them was on soft ground as well. I'm not sure to say he didn't handle the heavy ground at Lincoln, but I just don't think he ran his race at all. And I think you're right. Now having that pipe opener, he can give his true running here. And at 10 to 1, having soft ground form, I think Atrium could be a good bet. Of course, and distance winner here as well. So 10 to 1, I'm happy to play him each way. I'm joining you, Paul. Frankie, are you staying with Atrium or are you jumping off the bandwagon?
I am. It's the first hat trick of the weekend. We're all in on Atrium. I can't add too much more than what you two have said, to be honest. Bar Empire State of Mind was my other fancy for the Lincoln. It was those 2 going into it, and they both followed the same form line, being 1-2 at Doncaster previously. Empire State of Mind also ran poorly in the Lincoln, so I didn't have a good day in the Lincoln for tipping. But since Empire State of Mind has come out and ran a very close second, so that leads me to believe I wasn't miles wrong. They maybe just didn't run their race on the day, and as Paul said, if coming on for that run and bouncing back, then Atrium still deserves every shot. Good over a mile and at this rating. So yeah, Atrium for the 3 of us.
The hat trick, hope we could go in 10 to 1 shot. Right now, it's time for the big race of the day, the 2023 Scottish Grand National. The race over 4 miles. Last year, won by Christian Williams with Win My Wings, with Kitty's Light second, and Kitty Light's topped the market at 9 to 2 for this race. Frankie, we'll start with you. Kitty's Light has been a fan favourite ours, really, haven't we? We have put him up a few times, but are you sticking with him or are you looking elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely deserves his shot here. He's obviously been put up a fair bit in the weight since winning at Newcastle, and look, he was well in that day. That was a Christian Williams special, wasn't it? Got backed in and won nicely, although having made hard work of it on the way around. I don't think 5 to 1 is really great value after 140 in this. I think we probably said, look, let's come here. He'll definitely run his race. We know he stays. He probably will be in the places you'd hope, but 5 to 1 I think is a little bit short. But I'm not going much further in the betting mind. Mountebank Genius is also 5 to 1 and joint favourite for John Joe junior and senior. Third at the Cheltenham Festival, I think, was a great race. Corach Rambler obviously won that race. Now, he's not as well handicapped as Corach Rambler was going into the National by any means, but I think if he gets the trip, then that Cheltenham form's pretty strong. Some class horses in there. I don't know if there's that caliber of horse in here, and he's not top of the weights anyway. So carries 11.5, needs to get the trip, but I think deserves every chance. Hence why he's joint favourite. But I'm going to stick with the John Joe team.
He's been seriously well backed. Monbeg Genius, anti-post, especially now 5-1. So he's definitely got a chance. I'm joining you with Kitty's Light, and I know it's a 4-mile race and you shouldn't be napping in this, but I am close to nap territory with Kitty's Light because I really do think that Christian Williams sets up his horses for races like this. If you look what he did with Win My Wings last year, followed exactly the same route as Kitty Light. Kitty's Light's done exactly the same. Look, of a marker 132, if you look at the runs before what Kitty's Light did, it was all about getting the handicap mark down. Look, whether it's right or wrong, it's what some trainers do, and it happened. And getting Kitty's Light down to 132 was genius because she was so well in, it was unbelievable in the Ida. And she needed every bit of the 4 miles to get up that day. If you watch the race back. Look, £8 higher here off a marker 140. He's still well in because off a marker 143, he finished second behind Win My Wings in this race last year. So effectively, I still think he's got a few pounds in the bank. I think he's been set up for this all season. The Ida and the Scottish National have been his 2 big races. Christian Williams is an absolute genius in these races. So for me, Kitty's Light, 92, 5-1. I think he's got an absolutely cracking chance. But a one at each way that I will chuck in is for the Lucinda Russell team. I obviously landed the National with Corach Rambler, and Your Own Story with Derek Fox on board. I think this is another one that's been plotted for this race all season. He's a 8-1 chance at the time of recording, but he's been given plenty of experience this season in preparation for this. He made his chase debut at Aintree in October and a good second to Conondo Cueto, who's been very progressive this season. Stepped up to 3 mile 4.5 at Haydock. He ran a solid race behind No Cruise Yet. No Cruise Yet ran at Cheltenham, but he didn't run very well, but it was absolutely backed off the boards, backed into favourite that day. So that was in the week. Was 9 lengths behind No Cruise Yet. Second again at Ayr, behind Gold Cup by another progressive horse. And then he went to Utoxter and placed again behind Tip Top Cat, who ran well at Cheltenham this week, and Autonomous Cloud, who's gone on to win since. This horse is all about bumping into better, like just slightly better horses, because next time out at Sandown, he bumped into Stumptown. Stumptown then went into the Kinmure, ran an absolute cracker to finish second to Angel's Door. Maybe should have won that day. But Your Own Story finally got off the mark at Wetherby, off a marker 117. Then went to Haydock a few weeks later, finished second by half a length behind Equestrian. That was over 3 mile 4.5 again. He's gone up £4 to a marker 128, but I just think the further he goes, the better he'll be. So your Own Story for Lucinda Russell team, who know how to win nationals, like Paul was mentioning at the top of the show. This team really do know how to win nationals, and I think the Scottish National could be maybe coming back to him if Kitty's Light doesn't win. So Kitty's Light and Your Own Story for me. Paul?
Each way selection, I'm with Man of the People. I think it's very interesting. Concern from a betting perspective, he's only had 3 runs over fences. They've all been in pretty small fields. He won a 6-runner affair first time out at Chepstow in October. Then he was back to Chepstow again in December for another victory, and then he was second in a 3-runner race. He was about 5.5 lengths behind Bridge North at Newbury back in March. He's a horse that likes to go forward, but as I said, he might just lack the experience of the big field, and the hustle and bustle of this race may just upset Man of the People a little bit. Having said that, if he takes to it, he is an interesting runner at a bit of a price. But one you mentioned, Your Own Story. As if it's not broken, don't fix it. Team that knows how to win a national. Your Own Story just failed when finishing second over the extended 3.5 miles at Haydock last time out behind Equestrian. And you'd imagine Derek Fox will be pretty patient once again. And I think Your Own Story will give you a good run for your money at around about 8-1.
Yep, glad to see we're agreeing to finish off. Lads, that's all the races covered from Ayr and Newbury on ITV on Saturday and for this week's podcast. All we need to do now is get the naps for Saturday's action. And Frankie, we'll start with you this week. Who are you going for?
Well, it'd be a winning nap for all of us if it wins. Atrium, just at a price like 10-1, I think is great value. You back that each way. be very disappointed if he's not in the frame. So yeah, Atrium as an each way bet.
Yeah, we're all cheering on Atrium. Paul, for you?
I'm with Magical Sunset for the Amwell Racing team, Richard Hannon and Kevin Stott. Fourth in the Goffs Million at the Curragh last season. Yeah, I think he'll take the beating. He's a winner on testing conditions. I think Magical Sunset will take the beating in the 205 at Newbury.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Another one I fancy. And I think you know where I'm going. Kitty's Light, currently 9-2. Second in this race last year, winning the Ida last time out. Absolutely loves 4 miles. Off a mark of 140, still got a bit in hand in my book. So 3 naps at a price for us, lads. Thanks as always for your selections this week. What a Saturday of action we got. Bit for everything, bit of jumps, bit of flat. So some cracking racing to watch on ITV. Please be sure to like this video, comment your selections or nap below across the weekend, and make sure you subscribe to Whiz and Closure channel with plenty of content to go through. All the best whatever you're backing for the weekend, and thanks for watching.